AqueroN's a great player. It's just ShoWTimE is one of the best, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the gold standard we look to in Europe in terms of Protoss players. Until MaxPax came along, he was it. He was the guy for Protoss. Like, it was like, who's the best Protoss? No one hesitated. It was ShoWTimE, always. And even still, he trades series back and forth. But we're going to have spawning down in the bottom left, looking to take his first competitive map against his opponent. Nice. It is the Platinum Heroes, AqueroN.
In the top right-hand side, the man with a perfect posture, it is ShoWTimE.
I actually was going to bring this up as well, is that ShoWTimE. So I've just been like complimenting the players like crazy. But you know, it's, I think you've seen these gentlemen. ShoWTimE has an immaculate 5 o'clock shadow. He has like that, like, he's got that perfect posture, but he also has that like really nice beard look to him where you're like, damn, you didn't just wake up with that, did you? And he's like, well, you know, I did, but thank you.
For sure, for sure. I mean, yeah, ShoWTimE is ridiculously good looking. And for people who are looking for better posture, you know, for the longest time, my mom would just tell me like, stand up straight, you know. And I'd be like, okay, and then, you know, you get told stand up straight. Like, my mom used to poke me in the back so that I would stand up straight, and it would work. And then you think it's just a habit that you gotta build, but what you gotta build is the muscles, actually, right? Like, you actually gotta work out your back.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, if you work out your back and your muscles are, you know, your muscles can hold up your weight in that way, then you get the good posture. So, you know, don't try to just stand up straight. That's usually not gonna work for any of us. Do what ShoWTimE probably does, and yeah, hit the gym and you know, have a back day.
He does work out quite a bit too. He is a very fit individual. Unfortunately, I have no information about AqueroN's you know, workout regimen, so I can't comment on that one. But I know that ShoWTimE is he takes good care of himself. There's a reason he looks as good as he does. You know, he's worked for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh,
not the start you want.
No, it is not. I was going to say, if AqueroN wants to make something happen in this series, he's going to have to do something to catch ShoWTimE off guard. That was not the start he's looking for. And we are going to see a pause from AqueroN. Hopefully,
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, you gotta reset. Yeah, he says sorry hotkey. So now it's like, oh, like the story that we should be drawing from this is, oh, it was the hotkey that messed him up. That's why that happened.
Yeah.
So scratch that. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Right. Like, at least from the mental perspective, mental aspect, the gap aspect, it's not there.
Oh,
there we go.
This
is where ShoWTimE pauses.
Yep. Every time they lose a unit, they just keep pausing back and forth. Sorry, hotkey.
Sorry, hotkey.
I'm gonna say that the next time in my ladder game when I lose 3 drones to a Reaper, I'm gonna be like, sorry, hotkey.
Just pause it. Just pause it and type lag, so that they lag at least lag or hotkey, so that your opponent knows that you're not. You know, you didn't.
You know who was the king of that? Who? Stefano was so funny. When he would lose a game sometimes, obviously it was all memes, he'd be like, unfortunately I have an important meeting I have to attend. We'll have to put this game on hold for now. And then he would leave. And it was like, oh man, that is really funny.
There. If you ever take a game from Stefano, he will say, congrats. Congratulations. It's so great. It's so great. Like,
it's a good way to respond too, because it's like, yes, you, not GG, congratulations. You should feel like you achieved something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You just beat the king. Good.
Exactly. It's like a nice thing to say, and also like I'm the king thing to say at the same time.
It comes from like such a strong confidence position. Oh, we are gonna see a Phoenix getting sniped here, as it is very Phoenix nice. Robo versus a Cloaked Banshee follow-up. ShoWTimE. Okay, he's just gonna bait out the Widowmine with that probe. Oh, losing out that medevac makes this... Well, it makes it so that you just cannot stick around anymore with this push. I think it was going to get pushed back at any rate pretty soon anyways. But this makes things a lot more painful. Nice pickoff on a Stalker. Oh, and his scan actually finds the Observer too.
Who is this? I mean, this is going pretty well for AqueroN, no? Like, he's holding his own at the very least. Could use the bushes here if he ever chooses to.
Might be able to... Ah, that's going to work out for him too.
Oh, my.
Very nice moves from AqueroN right there. Oh, man, that was sexy as hell. That was like big game playing right there. That was beautiful.
No, yeah, that was, I mean, that was really a really good sequence from start to finish, from sniping the Phoenix, etc. Like, that's when I started to believe it. Ever since he fixed his hotkey, that really things have taken an uptick.
You know, we just got to invest money in hotkeys right now. That's the way to go, because that was really nice from AqueroN. Now, where is the Observer is my question, because Phoenixes are in position to deal with a drop. They have been for a while. It looks like it's going to be one Banshee in the natural, one Banshee in the main. Is there a shield battery in either base is the big question. There's a shield battery covering most of the mineral line, but it's still a little bit exposed. What about the main mineral line? Gotta take a look at that in a second. Oh, nice shot from ShoWTimE.
To retreat. Oh, and he has to actually go and recall to the natural, but in the main, the next Banshee is here. Are we witnessing history here? Is this AqueroN's first victory over ShoWTimE potentially, as that push looks extremely scary, Dave?
It does. The shield battery will not complete, but the Colossus barely pops out. If that hadn't popped out right there,
it's done.
Yeah, this is game over, but as it is, this is already still so scary. We've got a bunch of bunkers coming up in the natural.
Yeah, I mean, the Phoenixes do offer nice cover for the Colossus and now pick up the tanks as well, but for how long can they do that, as AqueroN does go for the focus fire onto the Phoenix? I mean, ShoWTimE will manage to kind of like push this back. The bunkers are really not going to contribute anything.
Oh,
the SCVs!
Oh, Citizens! Oh, 7 HP.
That's
Phoenix.
insane.
Oh, target the Phoenix. Click the Phoenix. Click the Phoenix. Oh. Click it. There we go. This is still really rough for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, it's roughish for sure. Okay.
Oh my god,
the Immortal also goes down. Could you go... Oh. You know, there was a move there where I think if he loaded the Marines from the bunker that had 4 to the bunker that had 1, and then unloaded to go for the Colossus from that bunker, I think that was the move.
That would have been a TLO loading Banelings into a Nidus to close the gap moment. That would have been a really cool move. As it is...
Yeah, because if you get the Colossus, you win, right? So it's like, it's so rare that that kind of move is worth like thinking about and executing on, but here I think it probably would have been.
It would have been amazing. AqueroN, he's had his Wheaties this morning, you know, and sometimes you look at a matchup and you're like, this is gonna be pretty one-sided, but AqueroN has really come to play today. Nice job from ShoWTimE. Will ultimately get that Viking. Wow, he actually does get away.
I mean, the way he was mirroring the movement from the Phoenix there too was very, very impressive just now, right? Almost gets it, and to his own credit, because ShoWTimE never thought that he was going to risk the Phoenix in that process, but AqueroN, you know, mirroring the movement pretty well and trying to make... I mean, it's tough now, right? Like, it's like you're all in kind of... It did damage, but it maybe not enough, and yeah, it's tough. I feel like if that row one more second on
one more second, and it's over. The game is over 100%, because that Colossus, I'm looking at it, I have it selected right now, it has 21 kills. 21 kills on that Colossus. 3 times as many kills as it has actual HP. That is the situation in this game right now.
And it survived with 1 HP as well. I mean, what a nightmare. What a nightmare situation for AqueroN, who otherwise has been doing pretty good in this game. I mean, he's not even out of the game by any stretch. Right? Like
I still feel like he's in a pretty decent position. Not amazing, but I feel like this is certainly playable.
It's a good position even, but then if you cover the names, you're like, the Terran's in a good spot. But if you show the names, all of a sudden you're like, there's ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE will probably win.
AqueroN's doing a push with no medevacs, by the way. 6 Vikings, 4 Vikings right here, and this actually could end up working out very well for him. I would love to see him take down one set of rocks and leave the others up so that the siege tanks have a really good position. ShoWTimE, this is going to be so difficult for him to engage into. He needs to force stims out so badly.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, he might just be good with leaving the space be, but as I say that, I mean, the Zealots are going to charge in. That's a lot of stuff. There's no medevacs, however, so the sustain of this army is not really there. The tanks are still shelling away here. And AqueroN, I mean, he might get what he came for us. The Phoenix are now all gone. The Vikings have free reign to go after these Colossus and potentially take them down. At least 2 of them will go down. The 3rd one will likely survive. But this was still a really nice start to things.
It was an amazing start because even with no medevacs on the field, as I say that, 2 of them actually were made. The army of ShoWTimE and the position he's in is so difficult for Demauer, and it looks like AqueroN, he might, like you say, be making history here.
That would be huge. There was no battery, was there?
I don't
remember a battery
think
in the fight.
so in that fight. Ooh, Zealots though are going to get in on top of the army, and we will see ShoWTimE clean up all the tanks.
That is tough. I mean, yeah, AqueroN unfortunately didn't have any tanks in range of the Nexus, so then he decides I'm going to move 2 forward. And that was the opening that ShoWTimE needed with the next warping, right? Like, it compounds. You're moving your units. They're a little bit more exposed, like less stuck behind you know, the rest of your units and the rocks. And ShoWTimE gets also, you know, time for an extra warping and whatnot. And he manages to dislodge AqueroN, who must be running out of steam now. That's, I mean, it's tough. Next step is Ghosts.
Yeah, and he is getting in towards those Ghosts. He's added quite a few of them on, but I just feel like the mental aspect at this point is already going to be taking a toll because you were so close to winning the game in the natural with that push. 1 or 2 seconds on the robotics facility and you win the game straight up. And then you have that push on the 3rd base and you're so close to getting the Nexus, but you don't. You come close to getting the 3rd Colossus, you don't quite get that. You came close to getting the 1st Colossus with the SCVs of all things.
Yeah.
And then ShoWTimE just gets the fight he's been looking for this whole time. And you just can't help but feel pretty rough about that. Even finding most of the army out of position, 1 Colossus and a shield battery pushes this entire drop back. Oh, man. It feels like this is just Demauer doing what he does.
It feels like this is the universe saying, no, AqueroN does not beat ShoWTimE, you know?
Yeah,
that's
actually,
just not a thing that's allowed. Yeah.
That's what it feels like more so than anything. Yeah, like we can't be having this.
Everything you described was spot on, right? Like there were so many little opportunities where the game could have completely shifted. And it's not just saying that, right? Like it's like actual big opportunities where the game could have actually turned on its head or even just ended outright. And all of them didn't materialize for AqueroN this time around. It feels a little bit unlucky. And yeah, I mean, this is tough. He's about to get crushed in this base.
Yeah, the Zealot spotted the timing when it gets set up. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, we got a pause being called for.
Did the lag show up who it was?
It did not show who it was. The screen just locked up for me, and I'm assuming
Mapo
for probably...
It might be him. I'm always scared that it's me. Whenever there's lag, I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, me too.
But I'm just... his ping was speaking.
It keeps me up at night.
Yeah,
But
same.
I didn't get that like disconnect screen, but we're going to go back into it. AqueroN already had to give up the position, and he's going to lose the base too. Oi, 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 oi. This is a tough one to recover from mentally, I feel like. It's not over technically yet, but Disruptor Shot, it's going to come on in. There's only 5 Vikings to deal with the Colossi. Nice kiting back here from ShoWTimE. Is there enough man with gun?
Very good EMPs, yeah.
Oh my
Very
god.
good EMPs. Pull all your SUVs right now, I think is has to be the move.
I actually...
Surely, right? Like,
no, yeah, for sure. I think that was actually an amazing fight. That went really well for AqueroN. No. But even just
he has no momentum, yeah.
Exactly. Even just seeing more disruptors. Oh! That was...
Call it.
That was from downtown.
Time of death 1405 or whatever that was. There's surely no way, right? Like, I mean, with SCVs, maybe there would be a chance because there's no real, persistent AoE where there's no Colossus or anything like that or anything that you know, that would offer ShoWTimE a easy AoE fight. Instead, it's the Disruptors, which are a little unreliable, but there's plenty of Zealots.
Yeah.
And that's going to be enough. Such.
ShoWTimE shuts the door. But for AqueroN, you can't help but feel for him a little bit there, considering their competitive history. Because if you look at that game and you don't know what their competitive history is, you'd probably assume it's pretty close. I would still say maybe like 60-40 ShoWTimE or 65-35. But I certainly would not think that that was the kind of situation where one player has never taken a competitive game against the other.
For sure. I think if you cover the names and we don't know who's playing who, maybe we'd have to be like, actually, the Terran lost, but they got so unlucky. You know, like it was.
Yeah.
It's not unlucky in the sense that StarCraft 2 is so precise and you're actually making the moves that are happening, right? Like ShoWTimE did start his Colossus when he started his Colossus and his Robo when he started his Robo. But the margins are so small that it really does feel like, it was on a dime. Or like maybe you stim, a couple seconds earlier or click on the Robo a little bit faster. Yeah.
And even that fight at the end where, after the fourth base went down, AqueroN, like you said, he got some great EMPs. He was able to reposition his units to avoid the Disruptors from becoming too big of a problem. And let's say that fight happens before the fourth base goes down. All of a sudden, it kind of feels like the game is almost tilted back into AqueroN's favor. Like, he wipes out all the Colossus. He kills a lot of his opponent's army. Yes, there's a Disruptor transition, but all of a sudden we're talking about a 4-base Terran on Crimson Court. He's already had +1 ship weapons. Sure, the Liberator transition with +2 and range is a ways away, but it's at least started. It's well on its way. Even at the tail end, like, there's a lot of things about that game that give me a lot of hope for AqueroN, and I hope he's thinking more so about the things he did well than about the fact that the opportunities slipped through his fingers.
Yeah, for sure. It's when you said it's a tough game to recover from mentally, it really depends on the mindset. I think like if your mindset is that of like, oh my god, I could have had it, that was my chance, that was my opportunity, and I don't usually get to that spot, and I was just lucky, whatever. Then you're dead in the water. But if you're thinking, you know what, actually I can outplay my opponent, and I just proved it. I just gotta tweak a couple things. That's the other side of the coin, where AqueroN could maybe empower himself into a victory, as we see the Spaniard AqueroN for Platinum Heroes in the top right hand side,
putting together a very impressive push and a really strong early and even mid game, I would say. But shutting the door, showing us the power of the wall. It is Big's ShoWTimE.
Big ShoWTimE, love it. He is big.
He is big. And honestly, after that first Reaper went down, I was like, oh man, like what happened? But it very clearly was a hotkey issue because it literally just sat there.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, yeah,
for sure it was a hotkey issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he said it. He wouldn't just lie on the internet.
Of course not. What if this probe dies? Do you think we get a pause or no?
You know, it'd be hilarious if AqueroN paused and then put hotkey ?
That would be great, yeah.
Oh man, that's actually a really great way to get under someone's skin. Like Terran loses their first Reaper, and then you pause the game and you say hotkey ?
We need people like that. Like, we used to have people like that. They don't exist anymore. I guess the community is too tightly knit at this point. Everyone's friends and everyone's met each other too many times to do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard to do that to someone that you actually like, because it's just such a mean thing to do. But it is objectively, it would make for a good show. We'll say that at the very least.
It would make for a good show, and no, I agree. I mean, like, mentality-wise, if it puts any kind of thought into your opponent's head that isn't whatever they were concentrated on, it's worth, right? Like, it doesn't have to be anger. It doesn't have to be anything other than, it could be, funny. It could be amusing even to them, and still that would be a win if you distract from their planning games.
Yeah, especially on like high importance, high impact matches like this one, where the players are going to be ultra focused and they are going to be really locked in. Now we are going to be seeing something rather interesting here. Stargate coming out from ShoWTimE, but he actually chrono boosted a Zealot, and it got like halfway done before he switched to a Stalker. That's pretty weird. I feel like that was a little misclick. I don't think it's gonna end up being too big of a deal, but it's just a little interesting because we very rarely see ShoWTimE making those kind of missteps.
Yeah, I wonder what that was about.
Oh,
Maybe, yeah, I have no idea.
oh, right. You can escape out through that little Reaper jumping point. I always forget about that one. It always slips my mind that you can jump to the low ground there, but AqueroN will be able to avoid losing that Reaper, despite taking the 2 shots before the Adept Shade finished. ShoWTimE, he used to be a big Oracle enjoyer in this matchup for tagging the army, Revelation, etc. But looks like at least in this matchup, and for a while, he's going to be going Phoenix once again. So, I mean, they are really powerful units when controlled perfectly, as we've seen many a time. But even losing that first Phoenix can make the game really uncomfortable, as we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. They are very much the backbone and the transition that you need to go into Colossus, right? So, yeah, definitely need to keep those alive, use them for scouting, etc. And see if AqueroN can work with this. It's a similar opening to last time, right? As far as the little setup of units, the group of units that he has at this stage, but he hasn't been able to cross the map or do much with them as compared to last game.
No, he hasn't, but he's really doubling down on the anti-Phoenix setup here, going for 2 Vikings, 3 Cyclones at least. And this feels like he wants to go for maybe a little push with this. If you don't, I mean, okay, so it's kind of hoping to cancel a 3rd base, I feel like. But ShoWTimE is not the kind of player to go for a super fast 3rd usually. We will need to see an Immortal start up, and as I say that, there's one already queued up for ShoWTimE. But trying to break a 2-base Protoss who's got, shield battery at the natural, who's got a good number of Phoenixes, it feels like it's going to be pretty tough, but AqueroN is going to go for it with a little SCV pull. This could still have a lot of teeth.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, this is one of the strategies as well that he has always been comfortable with, or the kind of approach anyway, very aggressive, micro-focused type stuff. That's a nice job. Just as I hype up his micro, he does a good job of picking up the mine to save it, and actually it does get a shot off onto one of the Adepts as a result. So very nice, but he still needs to do a lot more.
Yeah, because he has, lost a couple of SCVs to the Phoenixes on the other side of the map. He's pulled a couple workers with this one, and ShoWTimE looks pretty comfortable so far with no siege tanks with this attack. You can't really, set up a big anchor point.
Yeah.
ShoWTimE, oh, nice hot pickup on that one Marine. Yeah, ShoWTimE's going to shove this back. He's going to take his 3rd Nexus calmly, and he, instead of, going for a big economic play, he just techs up, and I like it very much.
Yeah, it's exactly that. The siege tanks are usually there to force the engagements. That's what siege units do a lot of the time, right? It's like they're poking at you and from very far away, so you're either taking damage or losing buildings or losing something in the process, and then you are forced to engage, basically. Not the case here, so ShoWTimE just biding his time until he has the units that he wants, and when he does, he's comfortable crossing the map, and things all of a sudden look pretty tough for an AqueroN who just sieged his first 2 tanks. But there's 2 Immortals here too, so, and 2 Phoenix. I mean, ShoWTimE could very well end the game here, I think.
That would be really bold to try and go for this. I much prefer what he's going to do here, which is just going back home. But the fact that AqueroN off of a push where he's delayed stim, where he's delayed combat shield so much, and in fact, I don't even think he's going to make them. Okay, well, he's got 1 tech lab, but no 2nd tech lab, just continuing to pump Marines, continuing to pump Vikings. This feels like he might just go with no stim, no combat shields, and just hope for the best for a 2-base all-in. This is... I don't know. I feel like if charge completes, this just has no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, 3 tanks at least in the back. There's still just the 1 medevac, I think, too, right? So it's... Yeah, 2 mostly for hot pickups and healing your army very much over time, but it's not going to help with sustaining the fight very much. as it's only going to be healing one unit. And very nice
Oh.
volley to start on the Vikings, though. And the Colossus is actually maybe exposed here, as the Stalkers have to turn their heads around. I feel like maybe you could have committed for the Colossus and lost maybe 2 or 3 Vikings in the process, Max.
I like what ShoWTimE is doing behind this. He did build his second Colossus, and he is going to let Extended Thermal Lance finish, but he has gone for a Disruptor behind this, recognizing, oh, you're committing really hard into Vikings. But that's where those tanks are going to come in. It is going to be really difficult for to close the distance. We do see Stim finishing up. Charge will complete for ShoWTimE. He's not going to have that +1 weapons, but he is going to be on already 7 gateways as this 7th one transforms, with 2 more on the way. ShoWTimE, I feel like if he can just get a big setup on this army, it's going to be really scary. But like you said, Stim is going to actually complete pretty soon.
Yeah, that will be big if that's the case. I mean, it's still got a little bit to go here, as now the tanks get into a position to either kill buildings or again force an engagement whenever ShoWTimE feels ready. And the Disruptor shot actually hits a couple of those tanks. Very nice choke here being utilized by the Marines and Marauders that were just crossing the map as the Zealots turn their attention to them as soon as they are exposed in the open. That's tough. But Nexus will fall.
All right.
Do we pull back? Do we ever pull back?
Oh, that's a tough call to make. I feel like traditional wisdom says yes, but he's in such a good position with these siege tanks.
He hasn't started a CC, right? Like, if he starts a CC right now, I'm chilling, but
yeah,
as it stands, I mean, he's committed. Okay, he's starting a CC.
This
looks okay. This looks good.
For AqueroN, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
This looks so difficult for ShoWTimE. Once again, this does not look like a matchup where one player has never beaten the other in a single map. This looks like
not at all.
A really difficult setup. Here we are going to go for the big
tanks are on
flank.
siege, though.
Massive surround with the Zealots. Liberators are going to show up, though, and there's not really an answer to the great kiting from AqueroN. The Vikings land in the back.
Oh my. It's done. It's done. He's doing it, no?
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly is doing it at least. The Immortals are exposed. There's still a little bit of bio here. The Liberators are going to turn their attention to them as more reinforcements show up for ShoWTimE, and now the Liberators are exposed. Oh my god, I thought he had it. It was so very close, but as it stands, ShoWTimE barely holding. Still, kind of like a successful attack all in all for AqueroN, who did drop his CC on the back of it, so he can just take his third.
Imagine if he'd pulled back, though, after he killed the third. So I'm with you. I actually was looking at that fight, and I'm like, oh, it's 4 Immortals that have probably already popped their barrier against a bunch of Marines. But it's Immortals with +1 versus Marines with no +1, no combat shields. It's just finishing up now.
Shields.
And only like 1 medevac. So 4 Immortals versus, I don't know, like 10 stimmed Marines. That ended up going way different than we almost always see it go. And ShoWTimE does end up holding again. I gotta say, I am super impressed with what we're seeing from AqueroN. But even with all that in mind, ShoWTimE is doing such a good job of dealing with this. I'm gonna say this supercharged today Terran.
Yeah, for sure. And also keep in mind, like, that was the perfect engagement for ShoWTimE. I'm not sure how much information he had when he took the engagement, but 3 tanks were unsieged for AqueroN as well. If those were sieged at the start of the fight, if the bunkers were loaded at the start of the fight, which also costed him a couple of rounds of attack, because at some point he kind of like just clicked on the, you could see he clicked all his units onto one bunker and all his units onto the other bunker, you know, like he missed a couple of attacks that could have been, you know, stutter steps away, because he was selecting all of his army instead of 4 units here and there, because it's so hard to do that in the midst of a fight like that. But if the bunkers were loaded, if the tanks were sieged, or at least not 3 of them unsieged, the fight is even better for him.
Even in the middle of those, like, what, 4 Marines and 2 Marauders or something that got picked off by the Zealots, if ShoWTimE doesn't readjust those Zealots, instead of, you know, he comes out of that with, I think, 3 Zealots left over and killed that little force of bio. Let's change absolutely nothing about that fight, subtract 3 Zealots from it, add 4 Marines and 2 Marauders. That might actually just be a different fight. AqueroN might have already forced game 3.
Altogether, altogether. I mean, RTS math is so snowbally, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Whenever there's, like, it's difficult to see in, like, non-mirror matchups, but in mirror matchups, if that was an even fight and you add, you know, 3 Marines to the other side, that side is going to survive with like 10 or 15 Marines. It doesn't just subtract straight up from the total number, because you remove DPS faster, and that means, So it's snowball ESL, and you're completely right. Those things can make a huge difference.
And the only reason I point that out specifically is because ShoWTimE manually moved those zealots away. Like he actually he made the extra additional effort, and that was that little difference where all he did was just draw the zealots away and then re-engage, and it's just a little bit of multitasking, like 3 clicks, which is trivial, but in a game that's super chaotic. That is the difference. That's what makes him one of the best Protoss players in Europe and a top tier player in the entire world.
Yeah, absolutely. He can spare the attention and make that sort of decision as well, right? Because it's a strategic decision. Whereas on the side of AqueroN, you probably looked at the middle of the map. You were like, my Marines and Marauders, they win that fight. I can look away.
Yeah.
And he never looks back, right? Because he already assumed that fight is won. And that's where, if you're ShoWTimE, you can identify that your opponent did that and then look to capitalize. Because if your opponent's paying equal attention, then it's never worth it to re-engage with the Zealots either. So you're basically banking on your opponent not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes making those little moves where it's such a chaotic thing, it just is the right call. The couple of Liberators on this left side were not able to find a good siege position just yet. Of course, he does get that one siege position that's out of range of the Stalkers, but ShoWTimE building another Phoenix just to deal with those Liberators. And that would be pretty nice here. Ooh, Disruptor in the middle. Oh man, AqueroN was about
at least.
Yeah, that was 1 second away, I would say, from him running into a massive Disruptor shot.
Yeah. Tank is exposed. Sadly, the Zealots are gonna clean that up. I am rooting for AqueroN. I'm not gonna hide my underdog bias at this point. So I will just say sadly whenever something bad to AqueroN happens. But this is a good position actually for EMPs.
Yeah, the army's really choked up around that watchtower. It is a good position for the Colossus because there's not really anywhere the Vikings can sneak in from the side easily. We do have that one Liberator that was cleaned up earlier. You kept the other Liberator hidden, so that is going to get at least a couple of probes. Phoenix will, of course, be able to clean this up, but 5 probes and a lot of lost mining time. Well, it's actually going to be 4 probes as the Stalkers blink in. Oh, okay, good job avoiding.
Good EMP as well to start onto 3 of the Disruptors. It means they'll be easy to take out relatively if they're standing at the front. All right, let's see what AqueroN can do. I mean, both players are near maxed here. Another EMP lands in the middle of everything.
That was a huge...
I feel like this is not the angle, though.
Yeah, it's tough to find it right here. AqueroN is going to be able to snipe down the Disruptor after dodging it, but...
Okay.
This is not bad, but it feels like AqueroN's on 49 SCVs right now. This feels so committed with this push. He's adding on Liberators, which is kind of cool.
I love that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, if he can slow push this position, he found a lot of success in the game with this position earlier. The problem is he's stimming his whole army every time, it feels like. And even with 5 medevacs, that is a long time to heal everything up.
Yeah, the problem is that ShoWTimE has the siege units and the Disruptor as far as this altercation is concerned. Now, this could be good for AqueroN, however, he's very well spread. The Disruptor shots are going to go off, and if nothing connects, he could have a chance. The Zealot flank is brilliant, though, from ShoWTimE, and now AqueroN has been separated a little bit too much and will have to tap out. Very nice job from ShoWTimE on the close.
Yeah, that was excellent, actually, from ShoWTimE. Really closed that out brilliantly, and not only did the Zealot flank